Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving straight into a fascinating area today, the impact of artificial intelligence on creative content.
It's a huge topic right now.
Absolutely. And you've sent us a really interesting collection of material, your own thoughts on using AI, an essay you're working on, and this research log packed with notes.
Yeah, looking at the creative side, the ethics, even the energy use.
Right. So our goal here isn't just to say AI is, good or bad for creativity. It's more about understanding the different layers based on what you share.
Getting beyond the simple takes.
Exactly. You mentioned wanting to get a clear picture without feeling swamped, so we'll focus on the key insights from your materials. Okay, let's unpack this.
Sounds good. What strikes me right away about your sources is just how broad the conversation is. It's not just, can AI make art? It touches on really fundamental questions like, what is creativity now? How do we value stuff? And, the practical side of using these tools.
Yeah, totally. And you kicked off your personal reflections seeing AI as like a new tool, similar to a smartphone or Photoshop, maybe?
Right, capable of good things and, well, maybe causing some problems too.
It feels like a really grounded starting point, especially when, so much of the AI talk feels quite extreme one way or the other.
It really is a good place to start. And your sources map out this nuanced territory really well. So on one side, you've got a more skeptical view.
Like the illustrator, Rob Biddulph.
Yeah, exactly. He basically says, look, for me, the creative thing is the process. Just like pressing a button for an image, that doesn't feel like the same creative act.
Right, and that ties into what the Authors Guild president said about AI creations just kind of regurgitating what they learned.
This idea of AI as a sort of advanced mimicry.
Which becomes super relevant when you think about things like copyright, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. That 2023 U.S. court ruling.
Yeah.
The one saying AI art can't be copyrighted because, well, U.S. law protects human creation.
Yeah, I remember that.
That really underlined the legal angle authorship, in the eyes of the law anyway, is tied to a human doing the work. Sparked a lot of debate among creators.
For sure. But then, looking at the other side, your sources also talk about AI as maybe a collaborator or just a really advanced tool.
Right, where the artist's vision and their choices are still the main thing.
Like that creative director, Tim Koch. He called it another design tool, something you integrate into how you already work.
Exactly. And that seems to fit really well with your own experience, right? As a solo creator, finding AI helpful for maybe overcoming limitations and getting your ideas out there.
Yeah, it did feel like that sometimes.
And what's really interesting is this whole skill emerging called prompt engineering.
Ah, yes, the prompts.
Your sources, including that study in Frontiers in Education, they point out that getting an AI to produce what you actually want, that takes its own kind of creativity, its own imagination.
Yeah, it's not just random words.
No, it's a skill. It takes practice.
In your reflection, you even said that crafting good prompts still feels creative, even if the result comes faster than doing it all from scratch.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about how we define creative work now with these tools in the mix.
What parts of the process do we value most?
Precisely. Okay, so shifting gears a little, your materials also touched on the energy side of AI.
Right.
You mentioned feeling environmental concerns might be cherry-picked sometimes.
Yeah, it just felt like people would highlight AI's energy use without always comparing it to, I don't know, streaming video or other digital stuff we do all the time.
That's a fair point. Context matters. However, your research log does pull up some pretty significant data.
Okay.
Like MIT Technology Review reporting that training just one big AI model could have the emissions footprint of like 5 cars over their entire lifetimes.
Wow, okay. That's substantial.
Yeah, and the stats around OpenAI's GPT-3 training points, similar big energy needs.
And it's not just the training, is it? It's every time someone like me uses it to generate something, that takes power too.
Exactly. That's called inference. And the estimate from Stanford and Google suggests a lot of the energy use, maybe even more than the training, comes from all those user requests. That comparison from Columbia Climate School, saying a single AI query can use way more energy than a simple Google search. That kind of puts it in perspective.
Okay. Though your sources did offer a slightly different angle too, suggesting we should maybe compare it to other creative things humans do, like making a movie or printing books.
That's an important comparison, yeah. And one academic source you looked at suggested that sometimes AI might even be more energy efficient per piece of content than traditional ways of working.
Interesting.
Plus, it's worth remembering AI is also being looked at to help with environmental problems in other fields.
And you also noted that the AI research community is aware of this energy issue and they're working on more efficient ways.
That's right. Better algorithms, exploring carbon offsets.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a live issue, and it's evolving. Now, moving to another really big theme in your materials, how these AI models are actually trained.
Ah, the data. This feels really crucial.
It is. They learn from just massive amounts of text and images created by humans.
Often without the original creators even knowing or giving permission, right?
Exactly. And that's led to a lot of pushback, like the Authors Guild's open letter demanding creators get asked for permission and get paid if their work is used.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Jonathan Franzen's quote really hits it, the idea that AI companies might be profiting off almost everyone's work without consent.
And that analogy you found, the digital enclosure of the commons.
Yeah, from the M365 Princess blog. It's a powerful way to frame it, taking this shared cultural knowledge and using it in new, potentially commercial ways.
It definitely makes you think, especially using the tools yourself. You mentioned wondering if you're indirectly benefiting from unpaid work. The whole controversy around AI-assisted kids' books really highlights that tension.
It does. It shows how interconnected everything is. The creators, the data, the AI models. Now, another angle your research explored was bias.
Right, the idea that AI learns from the data, and if the data has biases,
Then the AI might just repeat or even amplify those biases.
you found examples like AI defaulting to stereotypes for jobs, CEO being an older white guy, nurse being female.
Exactly. And it's not just visual stuff. It can be broader. That study you cited by Agarwal and colleagues.
Looking at AI writing assistants.
Yeah, and how they might influence users from different cultures, possibly leading towards a kind of homogenization if the training data is mostly from one perspective, like Western culture.
Wow, okay. The idea that the tool itself could subtly shape creativity based on where its data came from.
It's a real concern.
Now, your sources also got into the more immediate risks, like fake content.
Definitely. That 2023 incident with the fake Pentagon explosion picture.
The one that briefly messed with the stock market.
Yeah. It's such a clear example of how easily AI fakes can spread misinformation and have actual tangible effects.
And the stories about AI voice cloning being used in scams, kidnapping scams. That's terrifying.
It really is.
Yeah.
It erodes trust in things we thought were reliable, like someone's voice.
The whole deepfake video potential for spreading disinformation, it's a serious worry.
Absolutely. And while, there's work being done on AI to detect fakes,
Our own critical thinking, our media literacy seems more vital than ever.
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us into the whole conversation around art and value and how AI might be changing things there.
Yeah, there's that fear among creators, isn't there, that AI could just flood the market with cheap content.
Devaluing human skill and effort.
Yeah.
The hashtag no to AI art thing among illustrators really captured that anxiety.
And the worry about everything starting to look the same if AI models have their own built-in aesthetic biases.
Exactly. Homogenization. But your sources also brought up some historical parallels.
Like photography versus painting.
Right. How painting adapted, found new ways to be valued. It reminds us that new tech doesn't always just replace, it can shift how we see things.
And sometimes mass production makes people appreciate the handmade stuff more, like artisan movements.
Precisely. Then there's the economic angle. AI is a tool to automate content creation, cut costs.
Which could be great for companies, but as that M365 Princess blog pointed out, what about the human creators? Are they getting compensated fairly?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Maybe we end up with a split tons of AI content for basic needs, and then human AI hybrid art becomes like premium, more valued.
Could be. But then flipping it again, your sources also talked about the positives, how AI can actually open up creativity for more people.
Something you felt yourself, right, as an indie creator.
Yeah, definitely lowered some barriers.
That Corridor Digital example is great, using AI to make an anime short film way faster and cheaper. It shows how it can empower smaller creators or teams.
And potentially help people with disabilities or bridge language gaps.
Huge potential there. Plus, you mentioned the learning curve, just figuring how to use AI effectively.
Yeah,
And the open source community keeping things accessible.
for sure.
Of course, there are caveats. Just because there's more content doesn't mean it's good or that people find it.
Right. Discoverability is still an issue.
And the fact that the really powerful AI tools are often owned by huge companies
Yeah.
that could create new kinds of gatekeeping down the line.
Okay, so this brings us back to prompt engineering. That skill.
Yeah. Initially, it seemed like this massive new skill, communities popping up, sharing tips.
People were talking about prompt engineered jobs.
Right. But what's interesting now is the debate about its long-term importance. Some commentators, like the one you cited, think as AI gets smarter,
The need for super detailed prompts might fade.
maybe, the AI might just get what you want more easily.
But even if the technical prompting changes, the core skill, asking good questions, having a clear vision, that seems like it'll always be crucial for creativity, right?
I completely agree. Which leads us neatly into the jobs question, economic disruption.
A big one. Lots of fear out there for freelance artists, writers, voice actors, people seeing work maybe dry up.
Understandably so. The writers and actors strikes in 2023, they really put a spotlight on those fears.
And the agreements they reached set some important guardrails, didn't they? Around AI use, consent, payment.
They did. Landmark agreements, really. But when you look at the bigger picture, forecasts like that Goldman Sachs one, predicting generative AI could impact hundreds of millions of jobs globally.
Yeah, across many sectors, not just creative ones.
It highlights the potential scale of the shift. And while, yeah, new AI-related roles might pop up, prompt engineers, AI ethicists, whatever.
Might not directly replace the jobs that are lost.
Exactly. It's complex. You might have increased overall content production, which sounds good economically, but many people still really value that human touch in art.
Definitely. So it raises questions about policy, too. Like, do we need updated copyright laws?
Right.
Retraining program?
All things being debated right now, and it also circles back to us as consumers. How do we engage with all this AI media?
You flagged the need for awareness, being more mindful about what we consume.
It's so easy to get swept up in viral content, especially AI-generated stuff. That Pentagon hoax again. It just hammered home the need to pause, think critically, verify things.
Don't just react and share. Find that balance between convenience and, well, truth and authenticity.
Exactly. Recognizing that emotionally charged stuff spreads fast. Making that conscious effort to check sources. It takes a bit of personal responsibility.
And being aware of our own biases, maybe. And just keeping the conversation going between creators and audiences.
Absolutely. So as we kind of start to wrap this up, it's clear AI in creative work is, well, it's huge, a really powerful, complex tool.
With massive implications for creativity, the environment, ethics, jobs, culture.
Your sources really laid out that landscape well, the opportunities and the challenges.
And it feels like the key takeaway, echoing your own thoughts, is that the future here isn't set in stone.
Not at all. It really depends on the choices we all make. Creators, companies, policymakers, us as consumers.
You, our listener, as someone who creates and consumes, you're actively shaping this landscape with your habits, your choices, how you engage.
It really makes you think. Drawing on some of those final thoughts in your research. Think about past tech disruptions, the printing press, photography, the internet.
Each brought anxiety, but also totally new ways to express things, connect with people.
Exactly. So the provocative thought is, what completely new forms of art or storytelling or communication might come out of this human-AI collaboration that we can't even imagine right now?
That's a great question to end on. It's definitely a space to keep exploring with curiosity, but also that critical eye.
Absolutely. Keep asking questions.